We are installing Kali Linux. First, you're going to need a Kali Linux USB stick. So for this laptop specifically, I've actually noticed this with a couple other laptops, we're going to need a mouse because for some reason the trackpad on the laptop, it doesn't work in the installer. I'm not sure if this is just a driver issue or if this is something to do with Kali Linux, but I've run into the issue many times, many different updates. And this specific laptop here, the HP Spectre X360, this one does fall under that. For this, we're going to need one of these on-the-go dongles. Goes from USB-C to USB-A, and this one here I'm going to be using for the actual mouse itself. Just gonna plug that in to either of the USB-C ports on the side. We should have battery power plugged in, but it's fully charged, so we're not really concerned with that. Next, take your Kali Linux USB stick, and we're just gonna plug that in. Now we're just gonna shut this down because we're not going to be using Windows anymore. So this laptop specifically, to get into the BIOS, we're gonna be doing F10. Other laptops can be the delete key, F2, escape. For the boot options on this laptop, it's going to be F9, but just to start off, I'm going to show you going into the BIOS. So we're going to power it up, hit F10 repeatedly. This laptop, you can't just hold F10, you actually have to hit it like a million times. So now we're going into the BIOS. So once we're in here, one thing I like to do is just check the BIOS, make sure it's the most up-to-date one. So we're on F.33, which is currently the highest BIOS that you can get, the newest one. The date and time is all correct, so it's 2 in the morning on November 1st, 2020. Down here, we're gonna go to the boot options, and we're just gonna make sure that we have USB boot enabled. So that will allow us to actually boot from this USB stick. And then we can just go back, but now we're gonna hit F9 repeatedly, and that's going to boot, well, the boot options, and then from there we're gonna be able to select the USB stick. And now in here we have USB hard drive, UEFI SanDisk, or the CD-ROM. Now, I'm not sure why it comes up as a hard drive and a CD-ROM, but I've actually had some installs on older laptops where it wouldn't actually install. It would fail on the install for the hard drive, and I would have to use the CD-ROM as the boot selection to actually install it. But for this one, I've already done this before. So booting from the USB hard drive is totally fine. So we're just gonna do that option there. We're just gonna do the graphical installer, make it a little bit easier on us. And this is where we're gonna need the mouse. You can just do the regular install and you don't actually need the mouse for this, but this one here, we will, because you can see that the trackpad doesn't work now for whatever reason. So we're going to go to English, continue, country, the frozen north. Keyboard, standard American keyboard. Okay, so this is just asking for some non-free firmware files. So we can just hit yes, continue. It's gonna try and detect networks now. So from here we can connect to the Wi-Fi, or if you have Ethernet, you can just, you'll be connected to the Ethernet and it'll just ask you to confirm that that's your network. But this here, we're gonna be connecting wirelessly. Okay, so I've selected my network, I've entered the password. Now it's going to go back and forth, trying to connect to the router, get all the credentials that it needs to connect to the internet. And you know, it's just standard installation stuff. So now we can call this whatever we want. I'm just gonna call it Kali. So that way, if anything comes up where I need to see this anywhere else on the network, I'll know that it's this laptop running Kali. Unless I have more than one instance where there's different computers running Kali. That's not the case. This is the only laptop that's gonna be doing things. We're not connected to a domain, so I'm gonna leave that blank. Now, username. So obviously you can enter whatever username you want here. It doesn't really matter. I like to pick something simple so that way if I ever need to reference it in terminal, you know, it's not a lot of typing. For the password, I'm just gonna pick the spacebar right now just to make this easy. And then even if I'm doing this on a permanent install with other distros of Linux, I always just pick space, because when I'm doing all of the updates, going back and forth into terminal, restarting, checking things, changing grub, it's always just easier just to have space and you don't have to do a whole bunch of typing. So it saves steps in the future that way, and then you can just change the password after you've completed everything and you have the laptop usable to the way that you want. We're in the Eastern time zone here, so we're just gonna pick that one. So this first option here, as it suggests, it's gonna use the largest continuous free space, so that'll leave Windows installed, and then you can install Kali on the additional free space on the drive. We're going to be doing the entire disk. We're gonna completely wipe everything, get rid of Windows entirely. I only had Windows on here to update the BIOS just because it's easier with HP's tools. You can also do the entire disk with a logical volume management setup, but there's really no point to that for what we're going to be using this laptop for, so we're not even going to do that. And then you can also do the exact same thing, but keep it encrypted, or you can manually set everything up and set up your swap and everything if you want to do that. So we're just going to do this. It's quick, simple, does its own thing. So right here is the 512 gig ADATA SX8200 PNP NVMe, so we're going to select that one because we obviously don't want to install it on our flash drive. And that's it. There we go. I'm just going to keep everything right where it wants to be. We're not customizing anything, and I'm just going to go over here, just asking, making sure that you want everything the way that you want it, and we do want ext4 as our format here. It's going to do it to ext4. That's going to be our file system for this, which is going to be significantly faster than NTFS, which I've done many tests before, and ext4 is very much faster than NTFS. Without question, we are gaining essentially free performance from this laptop. Not to say that it was slow by any means, but we're definitely getting more out of this thing. We're going to finish partitioning and write the changes to disk right down here at the bottom. And then one last message here, just to make sure that we want to do everything that we just set up. Yes. Continue. Good. Okay. Now we just play the waiting game. This is the fun part in Kali 20. Here, we can actually pick what desktop environment we want. You know, if you're into Linux, it goes without question that you're gonna want XFCE. I am going to be using this laptop daily, so you know, I kind of want a little bit of eye candy. So I'm gonna do GNOME. I'm not gonna do KDE Plasma. I'm gonna do GNOME. I know it uses more system resources, but it's fine. It's all about the eye candy right now. We're gonna make it pretty. It's going to be dailied for a while on this operating system, and I'm going to be adding the rest of the tools here, because who knows what we're going to end up making videos with this laptop for. We might even get into the whole OSCP certification thing for penetration testing or whatever, so I don't know, we're going to play with it. Okay, there we go, it's done. We've installed Kali Linux. Now we can boot. Go. Space. So that is how you install Kali Linux. Now for the next video that we're going to be doing on this, it's going to be customizing everything. So if you want to make it look better, a little bit more functional, a few tweaks to make your boot speed increased a little bit, then check that out. But that's it for this one, so like the video or comment down below or something if there's something you want to mention, or I don't know, or subscribe or don't. I'm not telling you what to do.